Hi everybody, Alex here from Expert Forex, and in this video I'm going to show you a tool that I have been using ever since I started trading robots. And the beauty of this tool is it is completely free and it will help you make the very best decisions about robot trading settings. Now earlier this month I made this video that you can see on the screen, and I made the bold statement that if I had one robot that I could trade for the rest of my life, I would trade this robot, and it is the Profit Retriever. It is the most robust robot that Expert Forex has produced today. And you can see this video was very popular and had a lot of likes. So if you haven't watched this video, please go and watch it. One of the points I make in this video is why I like this robot is it is so simple. It only has 5 important settings that you need to worry about and get right. And the beauty too is that those 5 settings are not complicated. There's a lot of margin for error, and this will come out a lot clearer as I go through this video. So what you're going to be seeing is me optimizing the Profit Retriever for the pound USD over a period of a year, and using 5 settings. Now you don't need to know what these settings do and all that type of thing, but I use the price gap, the initial lot sizing, the closure amount, which is basically how much profit do you want to make, the lot change rate, and the moving average setting. So I'm testing those 5 settings in this optimization exercise. And here's the optimization still running. It has run for 68 hours. It still has 3 hours to run, so it's still running, as you can see. And the reason why it's taking so long is I've decided to test all the possible combinations of the settings and not to use the generic algorithm. My next video is going to be about the generic algorithm, so I'm not going to explain that, but this is the most thorough test that you can get if you're testing all the alternatives to a particular robot. So just to give you an idea, I'm testing the Profit Retriever, the pound. I'm using open prices because of the time constraint. If I were to use tick data, this would take literally months to run. So I'm using open prices, and the reason for that too is that I just want a general overview of the settings. So I'm using a date from the 1st of April last year, April Fool's Day, to the 31st of March this year. So I'm covering a nice year period. I'm testing on the 1 minute time frame, and I'm using a spread of 1. I am actually using tick data, although I'm not using the tick data model. So there we are, that's what I'm doing, and so far the optimization results are pretty good. Here they are. The profit, the best profit so far is 30,000. The drawdowns are nice under control. What's quite interesting is that I am testing 85,000 options, and I'm almost finished, but 85,000 options. And if we go to the results, and here are the positive results, and you can see they decrease as they're going down. So what I do is I just keep on running down and running down on the side here, and I run and I keep on running until I get to a negative amount. And I do this for a lot of my optimizations because I want to see what percentage of the settings are bad. And okay, so here's the point at which the results go from positive to negative. And then what I do is I look at the size of the bar down here. So there is where I've stopped. These are the negative ones, and those are the positive ones. So roughly 80% of the settings that I have tested are positive. Now that's a very nice thing to know, and it's very easy, and you'll see when I go onto this tool that we're using, it's very easy to eliminate those negative ones or reduce them to a manageable amount. So what we're saying is that this robot is actually very robust. It has a high success rate, and it has an acceptable drawdown level. So what I'm going to show you is the optimization graph. Now, it doesn't normally display like this. So what you have to do is you have to right click on the optimization graph and select 2D surface. Now, when you select 2D surface, what happens is it displays one setting compared to another setting on a heat map. Now, how this heat map works is that the most successful settings are the darkest results, and the least successful ones are the lightest results. So when looking at this heat map, you can immediately say that these settings up here, those ones down there, are by far the most successful ones, and these settings over here up to that point, let's say, are the most successful ones. So that's how heat maps work. It helps you visualize the effectiveness of your settings, and the better the EA, the smoother the heat map, and this is quite a smooth heat map. So that's how this works, and it displays one setting compared to another one, and that's using the x-axis, and the x-axis in this case is the price gap, and the y-axis in this case is the initial lots. Now you can change the y-axis like that, and you can see another picture and interpret that, and you can change it to closure amount, and there we go. You see this is the part that's still running, and so on. So these heat maps are very valuable, and you can immediately see in this one, but for instance, here is the most successful result. But having said that, is this the setting that you're going to use? Because it's surrounded by lesser amounts, and sometimes you need to go for a dark concentration of 8 to 9 blocks rather than going for one block with lighter blocks around it. So for instance, that might be a better concentration, or that one there, that one there in particular might be a better concentration of where your setting should be rather than the outlying highest amount. So these heat maps are extremely valuable when you're making setting decision. If you want to go for that setting, it's telling you, hey mate, this is very, very high risk, because if you get it wrong, you're going to go into a light block over there. Whereas if you go over here and you get it wrong, your chances are that you're going to go into another dark block, and even that block is not as light as that one. So that's the kind of information you get from heat map. So let's have a look at this in a little bit more detail. Okay, so there's really 3 questions that you need to answer when you look at these heat maps. You need to answer these questions. How clear is the message given by the heat map? And I'm going to discuss that. Where is the highest value? And I've already shown you how to find that. It's the darkest color. And which 8 to 9 touching blocks provide the best group of settings? Because when you're doing optimization and data, you just want to get a feel of which settings in general are the better settings, not the precise one, just the general message that is being given. So let's go and have a closer look at these particular heat maps. So let's start with the first one that has the closure amount on the y-axis and the price gap on the x-axis, and we're going to keep this price gap at the bottom and just compare it. So what we're saying in this particular instance is as similar to the example I showed you earlier. Here is the highest value that was generated by a combination of settings, but we're not too happy about it, because if you miss, in other words, if the price action changes just a little bit, you can go into the very light blocks around there. So what you want to do, you want to find settings, a group of settings that will give you the least chance of failure. Now, for instance, I have chosen this one because if you add up the values of all of those blocks compared to the values of, let's say, 9 other blocks, they have the highest value. And you don't have to do it mathematically. You can just see with your eye there are 3 really dark ones and then 2 very close to them, and then there's only 1 light one there. Now that area there could possibly also be an area to consider. But here is the one that I'm going for. And what it's telling me is that gap sizing from 10 to 14. So it's 10, 12, 14. Gap sizing is good. And then the closure amount, it's saying don't go for these huge closure amounts. Go for the small amounts, which could be 15, 10. So it's 5, 10, 15 is a better closure amount to go for. So you can see the messages that you get when you watch these. And then the question number one is there a clear message? Yeah, this one is a little bit vague, but we'll see clearer ones. But this is clear enough to me to say that's a high risk area, but this is possibly the area I would want to put my settings in. So variations on here. So let's go to the next one. Now this one is a lot clearer because you can clearly see all of these settings at the bottom here should not have been done, and you can actually leave them out. And that's the way that I say you can actually change the 80 positive 20 negative ratio by getting rid of settings that are clearly not optimal. So it's basically saying don't use a rate of change of 40 or 50, and even 60 is marginal. 70 to 80 is a lot better. Now in this case it's quite interesting. The best result is that one over there, but if you take the 8 blocks around it, you're not in a bad position there either. So let's say we take those blocks and we say that's our second. But if you look here, there's another block that we may be better or the same as those blocks. So there are always other ones that you could look at. But again, it's interesting from a price gap perspective, the message is consistent. It's saying 10, 12 and 14, and in this case 16 are the settings. So we're getting a much better grasp of what our price gap settings should be, and it's also saying that the change settings should be higher, definitely not low. So we're getting clear messages from this particular one, and the only message here is that possibly that white block could be there. But what determines whether that white block should be there is the consistency between the messages, because in the previous one the message for the price gap was here, not there. So in this one there's more consistency around this particular message. So let's go to the next one. The next one compares the initial lot sizing to the gap size, as I've said. Again, we have the best one sitting out on the side and surrounded not by bad blocks at all. But if you look at the best 8 blocks that are on the chart, you would go for those ones there, because if you miss, you're going to be hitting really dark green ones. So yes, and the other thing is that when the best setting and the best groups of setting are on the edge of the heat map, like in this case it's on the edge, it's actually saying you shouldn't be testing these ones at the bottom. Clearly we shouldn't be doing those, but it might be a good thing to extend your test higher than the 0.4 that I've got there. Maybe there should be 0.44 and 0.48 and so on, and we might even get better settings if we extended our test. So the heat map also tells you whether your test template is restricting the results, and in this case it could potentially be restricting the results. So let's look at the last one, and the last one is again a little bit confusing because here is the highest level that's been achieved. It is consistent with the price gap settings that we've set from 10, 12, 14. In this case it's extending a little bit further, and it's saying that might be the best one, but here are some alternatives. So the white one is the next best alternative, Again, if you go for the center of that one, you're bound to hit some really good results. Then here's another one. If you go for the center, you could be hitting good results. And then here's another one where if you go for the center, you could be hitting good results here too. So here's a heat map that is saying, okay, there are a couple of alternatives. You need to decide whether that is the better alternative or that one. But you have to put your considerations into one basket, and so far the price gap one has been consistent in this area, so I wouldn't move out of this area, and I would rather take one of those two blocks than that one, although that one does look pretty good. You could also mathematically just add up the values to see what the values are for that block and for that block to make your mind up. But these heat maps are incredibly valuable, and what I've shown you here are easy ones because the Profit Retriever is an easy and robust ear, and all you can see here is really good dark green blocks. So, but it also illustrates that if you go for the best result all the time, you could be surrounding yourself with light green blocks like there and there, and it might not be in your best interest to just go for the best result. Rather go for the ones that have the more, give you a chance of success if you go for the center of those blocks. Now I hope you found this video interesting, and I hope this gives you a method to find the most robust settings for your robot. As you can see, it is a completely free tool that is available through the strategy tester. Now again, I must stress, I use this tool for every single optimization and test that I do. I want to see how robust the best setting is and how robust the choice of the best 8 or best 9 settings are. So though this tool is something I use daily, and I thoroughly recommend it to any robot trader who is serious about their robot trading and wants to find the most robust settings and wants to find the most robust robot. Because what happens is you can actually compare these heat maps, one robot to another, and you can immediately see which robot is the most robust robot. Now this technique is available in the 0 to Hero robot trading course, which is available in our paid forum. Links to the paid forum, links to the Profit Retriever, and any other important links will be available in the description of this video as well as in the commentary of this video. So from me, Alex Deploy, cheerio.